Now, speaking of fucking old school badass fucking death metal, I've got Mr. David Gregor, guitar player and vocalist from the legendary death metal act Morta Skuld on the phone. David, how are you, sir?
I am very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing very well, man. I'm excited to have you on air today, dude. Thanks for taking some time.
Oh, no, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, it's funny. I when I opened the show, I was kind of telling a story. You know, Morta Skuld is the only band I've broken up with a girl over.
Oh, wow.
And I'm going to tell you the story because you remember the good old tape trading days.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's what got us started in the industry, really.
Absolutely. And that's what got me into death metal, actually. You know, I was picking up cassettes from Blockbuster Music back in the day, and I remember getting Anthrax, Sound of White Noise, and I picked up Death, Spiritual Healing. And that was kind of my introduction into death metal. And
Nice.
I had a friend that was like, dude, I'll trade you that Death album for these two cassettes. And they were, you know, dubbed cassettes. And
Sure.
one was a 90-minute cassette that had Acheron, Rites of the Black Mass on one side and Baphomet, the Dead Shall Inherit on the other. And the other cassette was Morta Skuld.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, so you guys kind of were that influence that got me into death metal in the first place. But you remember the dual cassette tape decks that you would play?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I had one, and as always, one of the decks would eat a tape. I had a girlfriend, I was about 16, and she played my Malevolent Creation cassette, and it ruined it.
Oh.
And I had to talk with her. I'm like, look, don't ever play deck B. And then she ruined my Morta Skuld, and it was recorded.
Oh, no.
It was dubbed, but she ruined it, and I was like, I don't think we could be together anymore.
You're done. You're gone.
You're out of here.
Touch my tape.
Exactly. You ruined it. It got eaten. But, you know, I digress, man. Thank you very much for being on. It's great to talk to you. 30-year anniversary. Congratulations, my friend.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I get a little bit like, I don't know really, I don't know how to take that because it's like, you know, the band did break up for so many years. So I always try to tell people like, what I can't even remember how I word it, but I go, the band's been, you know, we started 30 years ago. So it has been 30 years. The band hasn't been like fully together for 30 years, but yeah, it's still since 1990. I mean, definitely a long road. And yeah, I'm like, wow, 30 years. Sometimes it's hard for me to digest that, you know?
Well, you know, you got to keep in mind that your music was being played during those off years. So, I mean, you guys were around, whether broken up or not. So, yeah, it's been 30 years for me. So
right. Well, that's awesome. And, you know, the thing was, too, is while we were, you know, doing like, you know, I was off doing a different kind of band and all that. Yeah, it was funny because the reason actually why I really started doing this again was because people were like messaging me about like Dying Remains. And I'm kind of like, you know, what, you know, what, you know, I don't know what you want. And they're like, well, you know, we want like the first gen, but we don't want to pay. Cause like if you go to eBay and you look at some of the first two records, the original pressings, some people want like $100, $120, $200. And I kind of was like, wow, I really don't like that for the fans. So I actually started talking to Peaceville like way before 2011. We've actually been talking since like the early 2000s. And I just kind of told him, I was like, hey, man, I was like, I really think you should, you know, reissue Dying Remains. And they were kind of like, no, we're not interested. You know, the band's gone. It's broke up. And I'm just like, well, I'm just telling you, I'm getting, you know, all this feedback. And, you know, so a couple of years keep going back and forth and we're him-hawing and this and that. And then just all of a sudden they were just like, yeah, let's do it. You know, I mean, it took me probably like 5 years of like begging and pleading. And I'm like, come on, let's do this. And they were like, fine, you know, so they gave me some money to go into the studio and like, you know, not remix, but remaster it, you know, because it was an old record.
Yeah.
And I went in that and then I dug through like all my archives and stuff for like photos and just stuff I've had, like, you know, newspaper clippings and all that. Cause I said to him, if we reissue this, I really want it to be a nice layout.
Sure.
Because that was really my only intention was just to do Dying Remains, put it out there, and then I was going to move on to whatever. And then, like I said, we put it together, and it came out, and the booklet was like, oh my God! I was like, they did such a great job. It was like a 16-page booklet. They did an amazing job. The art cover looks real good, and I just was like, wow, this is really cool. Because we even gave them, if you take the two originals and you put them or the original one and then the newer one. there's a slight difference due to, you know, how they print and the ink they use these days and stuff like that compared to 1990. But anyways, yeah, so that's kind of really where it kind of started me kind of back on the trail again, was after that was reissued. So
fantastic, dude. I love that story, because it was kind of a peer pressure thing, because you weren't even like really interested, and then somebody kind of poked the bear a little too much, and then you got really interested, and then wasn't it Peaceville that or Relapse, one of the two that kind of talked you into just pulling the band back together?
Well, really, it wasn't Relapsed. It was Eric Greif, actually.
Oh, okay.
So for the people that don't know Eric had managed Death way back in the day, and in present time, he is the what is it, the power of the estate or power attorney, whatever, over the Death collection. So anytime you see a new cup or a new, you know, calendar come out, you know, they had to go through him and get permission to do everything. And then, you know, and that's why you see all the reissues on Relapse.
Okay.
So what it was, Eric was actually, he was just getting ready, I think, or maybe there was maybe there was a reissue out already. And he just said to me, he's like, hey, he's like, the first two demos you did, because he produced the first two demos. And he said, hey, man, is there any way I can get those on CD? And I was like, I don't know how to do it, you know. So
they never came out on CD.
Right. So I found like the DAT tapes, or like the master tapes, and he paid for me to go in the studio and like have it thrown on CD. And the weird part about that process was we went in the studio like 5 or 6 different times, because we kept finding stuff. Like after we would get out, the drummer that was on Prolong the Agony, Jeff, was like, oh, I found this, and oh crap, I found that. And we just kept finding stuff. So we were like, no, we really want to make this like a really nice, good release. And Eric was like, yeah, let's do it through Relapse. I was like, okay. But then I didn't know, he knew I didn't know, but it was only like a mail order release. It was never in the stores. It was never really publicized. And that kind of bummed me out a little bit, because I thought, wow, like this would have been great to be an official release. But
and have some backing behind it, a little bit of advertising.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, we were really lucky enough that, you know, Eric is really good friends with Travis Smith, and he donated the cover to us, you know, because we weren't working with any money.
Right.
But anyways, and then, so really what happened was Eric actually kind of kept in my ear. And it was every like couple of months, you know, I'd be like, you know, because once that Through the Eyes of Death compilation came out at Relapse, we actually hired Clawhammer, the promotion firm, to do promotion for it.
Mm-hmm. Love Clawhammer. I work with them.
Yeah. Oh, dude, great guys. Really, really good guys. They did such a fantastic job. That's what actually brought me back.
Awesome.
Because we started having people ask, like, hey man, is the band going to do anything? And this and that. And at the time I had no band. And then so here we were doing promotion for this. And I said to Eric, I said, man, it really would be cool to have like a video for one of the songs. And Eric's like, well, what are you thinking? I go, I don't know. So Eric hired Doug Cook, which is I think he's Canadian too. He did he did a Death. I don't know if he did a Death video, but he did a Control Denied video.
Okay.
So Chuck's, you know, band after Death. Mm-hmm. So he did that video, and for some reason, Eric just contacted me. He's like, yeah, I'll do it. And if you go watch on YouTube's Prolong the Agony, I mean, he got a guy there with aesthetics and makeup and really filmed some cool stuff. And me, I had no band together. So I went to Illinois. I knew a dude in Illinois who had a camera, a real nice camera. And he said, yeah, just come over in my basement and we'll shoot you against a brick wall, you know? I was like, fine. I honestly I didn't even know how the song went anymore. I knew nothing, because I really hadn't gotten into it at that point. So
yeah, you kind of left Morta Skuld behind at that point, right?
Exactly. So I'm in this guy's basement. He had black walls, and he had like one of those like hanging like light bulbs that you see in most videos. And he just kind of hit the thing and it started swinging. So it kind of gave it that weird effect. And then I just he threw the tape on, and, you know, like you do with videos, everybody knows you lip sync, you know? So I'm in there and I'm doing all this stuff. And my one buddy, now I look back at it and I'm like, wow, I wish I would have had my guitar on me. I think it would have looked better, you know, but literally that was where the band started coming back, was 2011. When we released the Through the Eyes of Death compilation. Then we did the video behind it. And then, like I said, people were just, hey man, what are you going to do? Hey, blah, 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 you know? And then that's when I was like, hey, maybe I'll talk to the demo lineup, you know, and see if they want to do some stuff. And yeah, you know, the demo lineup was like, yeah, let's do some stuff. And did a bunch of shows, and then lineup changes, and then here we are today.
Yeah. And dude, I mean, Through the Eyes of Death, like you said, came out 2011. You guys dropped the EP, Serving Two Masters, in 14.
14, yeah.
And then the full length, Wounds Deeper in Time, and Time. And dude, that was when I was like, holy shit, they're fucking back.
Yeah.
Like it resurged so much like nostalgia for me, because I've never not listened to death metal since I was like 12. And
wow.
Like I said, like around 14, that's when I found Morta Skuld, or 13.
Nice.
And yeah, dude, it's just, it resurged so much. And that kind of brings me to a question that I want to ask, because Suffer for Nothing just dropped last month, out now on Peaceville Records. Everybody go check it out. 30-year anniversary, fucking
Please.
Full length. You guys did such an amazing job, and I want to know your opinion, because you've managed to keep that sound. And, with all the new tools and toys that engineers have and all that, you guys have managed to keep that sound from, the Dying Remains and As Humanity Fades days. Is that contributed to the awesome production that you guys were having back in the day and just kind of rolled with that into the new millennium? Or were you guys purposely, because I mean, Suffer for Nothing has that Morta Skuld sound. The production is top notch, but it really shows that the older albums really hold a candle to what producers are putting out today.
Yeah. Well, it's so different. It's different now than it was back in the day, because back in the day you had the 2-inch reel-to-reel tape, depending on what era you were in.
Sure.
I know when we first started out with the demos, it was the 2-inch tape that was stupidly expensive.
The DAT tape.
And you're like, oh God, how many are we going to need? 2? What? That's $1,000. Whoa. And then if you do like a full length record, I remember Dying Remains, I think we had to buy like 5 reels.
Jesus
and
Christ.
And then As Humanity came, and we had to buy like 6 reels. And then after that, that's when technology changed. And a lot of guys were going to like either ADAT recording or DAT recording, Pro Tools wasn't out yet. So that was the next format. So we were lucky with For All Eternity and Surface. That was done, I think, on like ADAT tape or some shit. So but yeah, no, I really don't know how to explain that, because I don't, first off, the first 4 records were done with somebody completely different than we did the last 2 records with,
okay.
And even the EP. So I just think it's, we've worked with, we went to Bell City Sound, Chris DeJuric. He's done huge bands he was in November's Doom and in Jungle Rot, and has done both of their records before. And amongst other bands too, Vermilion, a couple other, does all, a lot of local bands. He's just very easy to work with, and he's been around like the scene, like when we were, he used to play in a local band, a thrash band called Wrath many years ago.
I'm familiar.
Right. So, I mean, so he goes way back to the scene, just like I do, and he, like I said, we did some other studio work with him, with my other band after Morta Skuld.
Mm-hmm.
And I was real familiar with working with him. So this time we were like, hey man, this is our budget. Can we make this happen? And he was like, absolutely. And it was weird, because we started doing the record like right around the pandemic, like right around March. Like March 15th was our start date, and we were like, oh crap,
shit.
Yeah. So, but we were, we did it. We we were safe about it. We did it, and it just really turned out well. And I think the one thing that really helped him help us or capture the sound was we did pre-production. I don't know how many bands do that, but we always, we record songs like all the time. Like we'll write a new song, and we may record it like 6-7 different times, whether it's a basement rehearsal or a studio version, like in our area, in our practice area. Because we've got like you, we've got Reaper, so I mean, it's a real great tool for people to use before they enter a professional studio.
Absolutely.
But we gave him our pre-production, and he was like, wow, that's like really good. And I'm like, yeah. I was like, because sometimes I'm almost wondering, like, man, maybe we should use our pre-production as a real release, because hell, save you some money. But we went in with Chris, and he was just so easy to get along with, and like we talk things out, we plan things out. We really didn't get nuts. I mean, we're a death metal band. I wasn't anticipating on sitting in the studio for months or, years or anything like some of your big bands do.
Mm-hmm.
We're pretty much, we get in and we get out, I mean, I think Eric got his drums done in a 5-6 hour, 3/4, something like that. I don't know. He get in, blazed, he left. And then I came in and started tracking, and we just kept it very simple. And we just used all the equipment that we play with live. And I don't know. I really think that a lot, I mean, I'm not trying to be egotistical or none, but I think a lot of the tone comes from me because I am the only original member.
Mm-hmm.
So I think not only we're having my vocals, being familiar to people, but, I still write a good majority of the music. And I think that kind of I think it's just a lot of me, I guess, so to speak.
Sure.
I mean, I started the band way, way, way back in '89 with just kind of an idea, a thought process. I was in a hardcore crossover band like MOD, and we were like, I want to be more like Testament, and and then that's when I heard Death Pull the Plug, the Leprosy cassette, and that really changed my whole thought process and really what I wanted to do with my music. So yeah, I really think that the tone stays a lot the same. And also too, Scott, who's not in the band anymore. He just left this last year, but he was on the last 2 records with me, and he was in the band in '98, so he really kind of has that Morta Skuld feel too. So I really think it was just more of a combination of, I've been, I kind of am like I'm the lead guy, and then you bring him in with all of the prior experience from years ago too, and then he just kind of put the two together, and I really think they're 2 really good records in my opinion.
Absolutely. And the new one, dude, Suffer for Nothing, is just phenomenal. It comes right out the gate. I mean,
that one, and again, we just kind of, I'll be honest, I'll have to confess here, Wounds Deeper Than Time, I was honestly trying to write music that people wanted to hear.
yeah.
Because I'll be honest, I'm on Facebook all the time. So for the listeners out there, please go, Facebook/Morta Skuld, or follow us on Instagram, please. Morta Skuld 1 official at Instagram, please. Facebook's Facebook's not helping bands out right now.
No, they're not.
And that's why I'm trying to tell people, let's migrate to Instagram until we get our YouTube channel out, because right now I'm putting up posts and nobody's seeing anything, and they're kind of blocking our page, and I don't know why they're doing that, but.
I see more from your personal page, because we're actually friends on Facebook.
Yep.
I see more from your personal page of your kid playing video games and stuff than I do from the Morta Skuld page, and that goes for all the bands, and not just Morta Skuld. So.
Yeah, oh yeah, no, and I know I've talked to a couple of them too, and I'm like, what's going on? They're like, dude, we can't even advertise, and it's kind of got me depressed a little bit. I know it sounds ridiculous, but it's it's my only way to reach the fans. It's my only way to connect with them. And then also too, I got shirts for sale, I got CDs for sale. I'm trying to, we're trying to make some money while we're down, due to the COVID, and we can't even do that. It's I got these really killer T-shirts from a guy I work with overseas, and I'm like, hey, I got 7 of each. They're very limited. Send me X amount of money. Let's do this. And 2 people contacted me out of this ad that I put up, and it's just Facebook's getting really, really ridiculous. So we're really trying to find other avenues, and I really wish there was some entity out there that would come up with a Facebook for just bands. And
there's a couple trying, but they're not taking off.
Right.
I can't even think of them off the top of my head right now, because
my buddy. Yeah, I know. I got one on top of my head too. He was my guitar player Tim was just telling me about it yesterday. He's like, oh, we're gonna try this, next, and and also too, the Bandcamp page too. If anybody wants Suffer for Nothing, it's the Bandcamp isn't under Morta Skuld for some reason. It's under Suffer for Nothing. So for the Bandcampers out there, you just have to look for Suffer for Nothing on the Bandcamp, and you'll find that album. But also too, we're going to start our own Bandcamp page too for other things, and just try to kind of fund us, keep us going, so we can afford to bring new music to to everybody.
Yeah, and it's difficult for people like us that grew up and did all this in the 90s and early 80s back, you tape traded, you bought the magazines. I remember watching an interview that you did recently, and you were talking about, the Kinko's magazines where somebody actually went in and printed all these out and had them stapled and collated, and,
that happened all the time, man. I had a guy, I can't remember the name of the zine, but there was a local kid here. I remember we were first kind of on the scene, and he had this little zine. He was doing it in his bedroom. Literally on his typewriter, like in his bedroom, and it was just black and white, and it was like just really crappy artwork, and it was awesome. And he'd sit there and he'd hand me a 30-page stapled bundle and be like, here you go, you're page 4 or whatever, and so yeah, I thought that was really cool. I mean, you had to work for it.
Yeah, and you would leave a concert back in the day, and on your way out, somebody had flyers. They were passing out flyers for the next big show coming up. They're out there. They were beating the street, and now it's. You got to sit there falling asleep behind your computer on Facebook, and it's not really doing anything for the band at this point. And how do some of these skilled veteran bands come back from the badass 90s and early 2000s into 2020 going, how do I advertise now? Because Pit Magazine's not really around anymore. Nobody buys Hit Parader, or nobody's buying
gone.
Any of this shit.
Like Kerrang. I don't even know if even Kerrang's even around anymore. I think they're gone.
That's how I found out about all my bands.
Right. Well, it's even like for Suffer for Nothing came out September 25th, and I was like waiting for the press to come, and like we're waiting. I'm like, what's going on? And my press agent's like, hey, we're having a hard time, like due to COVID, like magazines shut down. Nobody's printing magazines anymore. Even the last copy of Decibel was like super small too, So it really took its toll. And I really didn't do I remember on like I said, on Wounds Deeper Than Time, I don't know, I probably did over like 24 interviews. And with this record, probably like 4 or 5. I mean, just not a lot of people. Like I said, our press person was like, hey, man, some people are actually asking for money to do interviews now or reviews. And I'm like, oh, wow. And she's like,
trash.
She said it was really hard. But there was probably a good, decent month of, I saw people, on Facebook posting their reviews and, and this and that. So every time I saw one, I'd repost it to our page. And, like I said, now, I don't know what happened, but the last 2 weeks, it's like you said, I'm putting stuff up and like nobody's reacting to nothing. And I'm kind of like, wow. I'm kind of like I got a little bit bummed out. I'm like, wow, do we suck that bad as a band? Like nobody wants to check us out, But getting back to the records, the Wounds Deeper Than Time, I kind of felt like we were kind of writing what people wanted to hear. And on Suffer for Nothing, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to write what I want to write.
Go back to the original formula, man.
Yeah, and I just was like, I'm just like, you know what? I want to write like just, if I like it, I like it. And that's just, I mean, even now we're currently, we had a show scheduled. Of course, it got canceled.
Mm-hmm.
So here we are all year. We had 2 shows this year that we thought were still going to happen. So since the beginning of the year, we had the studio in March, and I think we ended in March, April, May, because we were only doing weekends.
Yeah.
So I think that took us into like May till we finished the record. And then, but between all that time, we were still rehearsing and, doing our thing because we thought we had these shows. Well, then the shows, of course, all go belly up last minute. And so we just were like, well, what do we do? Like, what do you do? I mean, I know everybody's doing live streams and this and that. And I just thought, God, I don't, would people even pay to see us? You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
You have so many bands right now. People can pick and choose. And, and I don't want to sound salty or angry or nothing like that. But sometimes I get a little bit upset because I feel like we kind of get lost sometimes in the mix.
Sure.
Like, hey, I'm like in the back, like waving my hand, hey, I'm here, and I feel like sometimes I do actually kind of, I don't want to say beg, but I plead, hey, play my stuff or, and it's become different. Back in the 90s, it was literally you sent something and everybody wanted it. Everybody had it. Everybody played it. It wasn't a question of like, well, is this good enough or whatever? They just played it.
Yeah.
And now I feel like I have to go and like donate blood or something or like, hey, you want my firstborn because, you can have her, you spin my record, it's become very, very competitive and tough.
I've got COVID antibodies over here if anybody wants to trade for some airplay.
Right. Yeah, it's gotten tougher. So we got out of the studio. We were rehearsing for the show. The show went belly up. So we're like sitting here, well, we're kicking the cans, well, what do we do? My other guitar player, his band was set up to do a live stream at a at a venue with no people, and they were doing it for somebody asked him to do it. So he was like, hey, he goes, do you think Morta Skuld would want to get in on this? And I was like, what do you mean? He goes, well, we wouldn't like broadcast you, but like we have everything set up. So, so we paid, they, give us a couple bucks, whatever here and there. So, a couple $100, here you go. And cameras were set up and the lighting guy was there. And we were like, yeah, let's just, let's roll through a couple tunes, So the idea originally was to play more older material. But then what happened was we, of course the COVID and, you're limited to what you can do. And then us too, two of us in the band were like moving houses, buying, like selling and buying houses and moving and all that. So that all came in the mix. And then of course, it was like, okay, well, what do we do this? Well, yeah, 10 a.m. on Monday, we want you here. I'm like, okay. So yeah, I know. It was like, oh crap, 10 a.m. Yeah, I got to sing at 10 a.m. So anyways, yeah, so we went to the venue. Like I said, the venue we played, it's called SV2 in Green Bay, Wisconsin here.
Nice.
And so we just set up and we played. And, so we had it all filmed. And originally I was going to like just have like one long kind of thing. I mean, and we're not really like, I'm not really performing either. We're just kind of like jamming, it's like, we're not pretending to be in front of a live audience or anything. We're just like jamming out,
Yeah, you didn't put your death metal face on, and
I
didn't wear the spikes, and
no, not at all. No, I like that.
I put on my favorite Death shirt, and I showed up with my guitar.
Yeah, you're right. So yeah, so we did that, and I wish we would. Now I look back, I wish we would have played older songs, a couple more older songs, but it just, I don't know, something happened where we just picked out the ones we did. So, anyways, we went in and we did. I think we did 2 older songs. And then I think we did a couple songs off of Wounds Deeper Than Time and a couple songs off of the new record too. That was kind of the main focus for me, was I really wanted to do more new tunes because I know people hadn't seen us live playing those yet. So I really wanted to kind of throw some of those in there. So it was kind of a nice combination. But right now, like we've been listening to the mix, because obviously even though it's live, we're still having somebody mix it. And
it still needs production.
Yeah, and I mean, it's sounding great. Like I'm like, wow, I'm like, this kind of almost sounds like a record, like, I mean, it sounds really good. So we're in the process of putting the audio to the video and all that. And then instead of doing like a long thing, we were thinking about maybe doing like just like individual songs,
Oh, cutting it up a little bit and maybe dropping one a month or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
That's an awesome idea. Keep it rolling.
It is, but I don't know. If, like I said, if Facebook's going to cut me off or like, I don't know what's going to happen. So I noticed that with Facebook though, if you actually like upload a video like from your computer, they seem to kind of like squash it. But like if it's a YouTube link, I think it kind of plays out a little better. So
yeah,
that's why we're going to create our own YouTube page and get that rolling, so that way we can say, hey fans, skip the Facebook, come over here, and then we can even share updates and stuff. But yeah, we're going to be doing that. So I'm hoping by the end of the month to have one of those songs at least up on the Facebook page and hopefully on Instagram, and then just kind of roll from there. Like I said, just try to keep people interested. And then of course on top of all this, we started writing new material because we thought, everybody's kind of doing that. It's funny. All the bands I talk to, it's like, well, they're either writing their next record, and a lot of these bands just put out records like us.
Yeah.
And they're just like, screw it, we're just going to start writing the next record. It's either that or like streaming. It's like one of the two. It's like you're either doing a live stream or you're writing the next record. So that's what like everybody's doing right now.
Well, it's interesting going into 2021 and even 2022. There's going to be a renaissance of new records. There's some older bands that are reforming. Like everybody's bored; they're all locked up. Hey, let's jam. New technology being out there. You can jam via Zoom and do all your recording on Reaper and send all the stems to one guy, and they can put it together for a song. There's going to be a resurgence, but it's going to become a traffic jam once everything opens back up and COVID's no longer a thing. Shows are going to start opening back up, and all these bands are going to have new albums ready to drop, new labels ready to pick them up, and everybody's going to be ready to tour and find out that everything's booked.
Oh yeah. Oh no. That's funny you say that because that's like my biggest fear. We had a European tour scheduled this year, and then and a U.S. tour, and of course COVID came by, wiped it all out, and then now they're like, yeah, we're rescheduling for next year, and I'm like, please, please, but now, I don't know, man. We don't know what's going to happen, and then of course, you know, I don't, I'm not trying to get anybody stirred up, but a vaccine, I don't know. I mean, some people are cool with taking it, some people aren't. I don't know, and then I hear they're going to make it mandatory to travel anywhere, even between the states, that you have to have this, you be vaccinated. And I just don't know how it's all going to play out. And it just kind of scares the crap out of me. And, I really wanted to go over to Europe this year and play in front of our fans. And I think that's been like the big missing key, really, for this band to get to that next level. Really has just been doing like a full U.S. tour and a full European tour just to get out there in front of the fans,
Yeah, because, dude, as a fan, not as a media personnel, but as a fan, I would be elated to see your band on the bill here in Phoenix, coming to Club Red. Like, oh, fuck off! I finally get to see Morta Skuld.
Well, we're hoping. We're hoping, dude. Trust me, we're hoping because one of my good friends up here, Paul Panicky, runs the the Asylum radio show.
Yeah, I know Paul.
Okay, yeah, I
thought he was down here in Arizona now.
He was for I think like a year or two, and then he moved back.
Oh, so is he back up there? I know Paul. Yeah, he is a great guy. I love Paul.
Super. Yeah, he had me. It was funny. He had me on a couple months ago on his show, and he was having problems with he's having problems with his software.
Okay.
And every time, like, he would okay, we're gonna play music. We'd play music, and him and I would just be talking in the background, and my buddy would be messaging. He's like, dude, I can still hear you guys talking.
Your mic's
so
hot.
his whole show. But he never, I had mine off, but for some reason it just picked up everything. So I thought, because my buddy's like literally texting me as we're talking, dude, I can hear you guys over the songs. And we're like, what? So the whole show was like that. I thought it was hilarious. But he was saying that too when he was down in Arizona. He's like, oh, you got to get Morta Skuld down here. And I'm like, yeah. I'm like I said, we're going to put something together, and I'm really hoping that something does happen, because it's really hard to promote a record when I'm sitting at home and we're not Metallica or Cannibal Corpse or any of these other huger bands where we can just kind of, you know what I mean? We can kind of rely on our 30-year history and go, yeah, the record will sell. We're just not one of those bands. And ironically, we're a live band. Like I noticed this last year, like, you can do all the internet stuff you want, and some people are really, really good at it. I try my hardest. I really try to keep up, on our page and people informed. But again, you can only do, what the page is allowing you to do.
Yeah.
I just noticed when we play live, it just seems like that's when we really shine the most. And it just seems like people want to come meet us and they want to hang out. And I'm grateful for every fan out there that we have. I mean, it's a hard business to be in. And, like I said, we're not Cannibal Corpse. I mean, I love those guys. I'm not like putting them down, and I'm just saying they have such a history right now where if they stop touring or writing records, their records would still keep selling and selling and selling anyways.
Yeah, they could survive off their backlog. And
yes.
And yeah, it's such a shame, because I'm one of those fans. Like, yeah, I'll buy your music, I'll buy your shirts, but nothing is better as a fan to watch you live on stage and then come see you guys running your own merch table and go, dude, that's such a sick shirt. You guys had a great set, and get to shake hands.
And that's exactly what I do. That's what we do. I love it. Like, I know there were some times where they're like, hey, we're gonna have somebody run the merch table. I'm like, and they're like, why? And it's always funny because it's always a thing with the band. Like, nobody in the band, none of us really want to do it. Like, we don't want to be tied, but somebody's got to do it. So most of the times I'll do it. Sometimes we'll take some turns or whatever. But I actually kind of enjoy sitting there, because if somebody else like you go to a festival and somebody's selling all the band merch, they're not there like me when they're not pushing it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, people come in front of my tail, hey, what's going on? Can I help you out? Or, I like to interact with the fans, and I like to ask them questions. And, I've noticed that, I've had other people run a merch table before, and like, they kind of sit there, they don't say nothing. They're not real personable.
They're on their phone.
I think, right. And I think when you're more personable and you look like you're there and you want to be there, and, like me, I'm there and I'm like, hey man, you want to buy my record, dude? You want to buy a CD? You want to buy a patch? You want to buy a shirt? And they'll
And
ask
you
me
can
like,
also
well,
broker deals too, like, oh, dude, you're fucking awesome. You showed up with an old school Morta Skuld shirt. I'm going to throw in the patch when you buy the shirt.
oh
You
yeah,
can broker
absolutely.
deals.
Oh,
Yeah.
dude, I've had guys literally go like, man, I'm like $3 short, to buy the shirt. And I'm like, screw it. Just give me the money and go. I don't care,
Yeah.
because to me, I'm looking at it this way. It's like, okay, so you're $3 short. Do I want the sale or do I not want the sale? And I just think to myself, and then also I look at the person and I go, they really want this.
Yeah,
So
and
I mean,
you'll make a fan for life that way, Oh, dude,
yeah.
Dave was so fucking cool when I met him at the table. Even let me, bank on $3 that I didn't have, and he was so fucking cool.
Oh, yeah.
And we took a picture, and yeah, dude, it's amazing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I know. I think it's kind of. I find it humorous sometimes where we had a show and somebody like, is it okay to get a picture with you? I'm like, yeah. Like some people, I guess some people charge for it. I guess I don't know who, but I would say as far as if you're in the death metal realm, charging somebody to take a picture, I don't know if that's really.
I hate it.
I don't know anybody that does.
Yeah, I don't
yeah.
buy the meet and greets and early access, and you get first dibs at the merch. I get it because who would have known that Metallica was right back in the day when they started bitching about Napster, and we're all sitting back going, "Oh, you bunch of fucking whiny bastards!" And they were fucking right, dude. Because
I still think they're a bunch of whiny bastards.
Oh yeah, absolutely, and I think it's because they quit drinking.
But yeah, I completely It's like all of a sudden one day everybody quits drinking, everybody cuts their hair. Like what in the hell is going on with you guys? Yeah, and it's like to me. They lost me a long time ago. I mean, I'll be honest. I'm really not a fan of the newer stuff. I would honestly say out of their anything after Injustice.
Yep.
I really didn't pay attention to it except for one album, Death Magnetic. That was the only record, honestly, that really pulled me kind of back into them. I was like, wow, this kind of sounds like it could have came after Injustice,
Mm-hmm.
So, but then then the stuff they put out a couple years ago, I was just like, I just not feeling it. And even maybe some people are thinking that with Morta Skuld, like, hey, you guys are turning out records too quick, and that's a big thing that bands, I think some bands don't realize too, is you put stuff out too quick, people are gonna okay, that's like well, for example, we were just talking the other day, a couple buddies of mine about Testament.
Uh-huh.
And he's like, oh, he goes, I don't even have the new record. And I'm like, oh, really? I'm like, you should get the new record. He said, what's it like? And I said, well, it's Testament.
It's like Testament.
And he's like, what do you mean? And I said, well, no, really. I mean, and I'm not downplaying them. I love Testament, but it's like, if you put on the last 4 records, it's Testament.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I mean, we're not reinventing the wheel. And that was one thing I know that a couple people in the reviews for us for Suffer for Nothing were like, yeah, it's an all right record. They're not reinventing the wheel. And I'm like, we weren't trying to reinvent the wheel.
We were trying to be Morta Skuld.
Right. That, and honestly, that was the whole essence to capture, was let's capture Morta Skuld on this record as much as possible. And that's really all it was. So when the people say that, it kind of got me down a little bit, but I'm like, hey man, guys, we're not trying to reinvent the wheel here, And I think that's where I was segueing into the Testament thing is same thing with Testament. I think they're like, hey man, we're not trying to reinvent the wheel. We're just trying to write a good Testament record. And if you go back and look at their last 4 records, I personally feel the Formation of Damnation, I feel is like the best.
Okay.
Compared to them. But like the new record, it's Testament. If you put on, one of their early records, it's Testament. So I don't think like they're breaking any ground, but it's a really good, solid record. Just like AC/DC, the new AC/DC, everybody's like raving on that. I think it's like what was like number 1 on the Billboard, just out of the boom. No, not a fan.
No. As a matter of fact, me and one of the other DJs here, Sarah from Sarah's Invasion, on Saturdays, 10 a.m. Eastern, we are devout AC/DC haters.
That's all right. I mean, everybody likes their own thing. It came out and like, it's funny. All my death metal friends on Facebook were like playing it, they're like, playing this now, and everybody's showing their CD and their vinyl and all that. And I guess there was like some kind of like cool little box that came in or whatever. And everybody's like playing it. And I was like, I got to check this out. And I checked it out. I'm like, yeah, it's AC/DC. I mean, and it was funny because I watched an interview with Angus Young and he was like, oh, yeah, we put a little bit of twist in there. I'm like, no, you didn't put any twist in there.
I didn't hear any
it's
twist.
AC/DC. It's AC/DC, dude. It's don't, bam, boom, bam, boom. but I mean, it's AC/DC. Right. It's AC. It's good. It's good. I like it. I like it. But for the people that don't, hey, that's cool too. You like what you like, man.
I hate using the word hate when it comes to some of these
I
bands.
dislike it.
I
Yeah, I know,
really
me
dislike
too.
ACD. It's a tone thing, kind of like how Bob Dylan it's nails on chalkboard to some people.
Ugh.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
but I did hear the song, and I'm like, the production's obviously good. They're gonna have the best studio in the world to record in. But yeah, it's AC/DC riffs, AC/DC vocals, and
Yeah.
the filler in the back.
Yeah, exactly. It's not rocket science, but I just find it humorous though, because that record went number one real quick, and they haven't played out nothing, and I'm like, it just, I guess what I'm trying to say is another thing I noticed too in the industry too is if you have, obviously this is not a secret, but if you have money, you definitely can go a lot farther than bands like mine who we're not rich, but if you have I just noticed there's some bands that the one guy will have just stupid money and they get to do all kinds of cool shit, and and you're like, I want to do that too, but
they get invited to all the cool award shows, and
yeah, and I'm like, oh man, it's like, come on man, I want to go, but it is what it is. But yeah, I hear what you're saying. It's production, and especially today, like you were saying earlier in the show about Pro Tools and Reaper, and that's kind of a weird thing for me because I'm really not very technology savvy. I mean, don't get me wrong, I have a laptop, I have email, I'm not 80 years old and can't don't know how to use my phone.
You don't have a book of stamps at home waiting to pen pal somebody.
No. Yeah. and our new guitar player, he actually played with us when we did the Netherlands Death Fest and then the Symbolic Open Air last year in Czech Republic. So he was our touring guy at that time. And then Scott was getting, the drive. I mean, for Scott, it was like a 2-hour drive one way. So, it was getting a bit much, and he started working a really good job. So he was like, yeah, I'm going to bow out. And Tim came aboard, and Tim's totally different. He's very technology savvy. He's into the Reaper, like you said, sending files and all that. And I'm kind of like,
so what do I do with this?
Exactly. And I'm like, and he was like, dude, you got to get Reaper, dude, you got to get interface, and I'm like, yeah, I said, I'm dragging my feet. I said, I'm just kind of scared of it. I don't know what, and he's like, well, this way we can write stuff back and forth and I can send you this and that. And I'm kind of like, why can't we just write it in person?
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's kind of the one thing I noticed, that the shift for the newer stuff right now is definitely not, a lot of it's not written in person. I mean, don't get me wrong, we have to perform it in person, but like yesterday, I drove out to his house. I think it was about an hour and a half from here. So I drove out to his house and we sat around and I recorded. I just wrote a new song and I want to add a couple parts to it. And he's like, yeah, let's throw it in Reaper, put some drums behind it and this and that. And next thing you know, my song came to life, and it's just kind of weird. It's it's kind of a little bit of a different process because I'm more of a one-on-one guy. I like to sit with another guy and go, here, right here, and throw stuff off to people. And
yeah, he records it and produces it as you're doing it, and then you get to hear a playback of it, and then somebody comes in and adds. Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, but now it's different. Like I said, like you were saying with the technology, it just seems like it's evolving and changing a little bit. Back in the day with Dying Remains, we wrote that all face to face. I mean, that was in a basement. We wrote it, literally here, I got this riff. What's your riff? Or, do this here, do that there, or, whatever. So I mean, the first I'd probably say the first 4 records were done like that. And then
that was your only fucking choice back in that day. There was really no Reaper. We didn't have fucking cell phones to. It was. I'll be at your house at 10, and we're gonna work all fucking night on this album and try to produce 2 songs.
Exactly, or you got the old. Everybody had. It was funny. Everybody had some kind of a boom box or something that recorded stupidly well. Yeah, everybody had one. We had one too. It was this little beat up piece of crap. I mean, this thing was. You looked at it and you're like, dude, this thing, it probably doesn't even work. But man, I don't know what it did, but it really captured our basement recordings really well. So that's, like you said, that's all we had to go off of was the basement recordings. And then, like you said, then you take them upstairs in your bedroom and put them in your other tape deck and listen. And, try to, write vocals or something. So yeah, it's definitely changed. And I mean, the new thing for me that I just did the other day was when I went over to Tim's house. Is he's like, hey, you want to put some vocals down to that? He had, right when he first came into the band, he had like a song written already.
Oh, that's
and he
awesome.
was like, yeah, he was like, dude, I really think this would be a really cool Morta Skuld song. And all right, and it's kind of a tricky song in some spots. And I actually I've never sang and played to it before. So the other night I just wrote lyrics like really quick and then went to his house and actually laid vocals with the Reaper and all that. And I was listening back and I'm like, oh God, I'm like, you can really tell, like I really didn't, it's just, it's still in progress.
Uh-huh.
And so, but what it really helped me do was really realize like, yeah, I feel like I'm overdoing it here or there. Cause me, as far as the vocal approach, I've kind of taken a less is more. I feel like some of the songs on Wounds Deeper Than Time, like I felt like I had to put a lyric, I had to put a vocal line everywhere.
And had to make it more than what it was supposed to be in the first place.
Yeah. And that's that's the only pet peeve I have with some of the newer bands now is that they want to sing over everything. And it's like, dude, singer, pause for the cause, man. It's like, give the music some room.
Yeah, let everything breathe.
Exactly. So my approach on even the newer material now that we're working on right now is the same thing. I'm just trying to put vocals where I feel they fit, and I'm just not trying to overdo it. I'm trying to be more natural about it. And like I said, these are just songs we're just coming up with on our own, and we're just like, hey, this is the song. Like we're really not being like overly, oh well, what's the chorus? What's the bridge? What's this? It's just we're just putting it together. And matter of fact, in his song, I kind of feel like the chorus kind of starts off like with the first riff. So so I almost imagine it as a vocal line, but then I'm like, I think this is kind of chorus. I'm like, I don't know, I don't care. I'm just going to sing over it, and hopefully people like it, and just stop overanalyzing.
Yeah, well, what you did with Suffer for Nothing, like one of my favorite songs off the album is Divide the Soulless. Because the vocal work, because it just grooves along with the music. Like you said, you're giving the music a chance to breathe. The vocals do exactly what they need to do. And you're doing a great job vocally, because I can understand the words, and it's still a death metal growl. It is what it's supposed to be. And I'm a big fan of the new brutal death metal slam stuff, but it's all guttural and sure. Are they really even singing at some points? But I love it. I love the breakdowns and the 808 bass drops. It's all evolved. Mm-hmm. But sure. when I listen to Suffer for Nothing, I'm like, finally, an album I can fucking understand. I can get back into the lyrics, because I used to know the lyrics to all the Deicide albums, all the Cannibal Corpse shit.
Sure.
But today it's just like I don't even know how they're singing that fast. I don't know any.
I don't
lyrics,
either. And that's the same thing with me too. Is like I'm not a real fast singer. Like I've done some. I ventured out into like doing like guest spots. Like Frank. every week he's on something.
Yeah, he is. Even the new Internal Bleeding stuff when he was in the band.
Right. So I ventured out a little bit, and I know I have a local friend of mine here. He's got a rock band, and he's like, hey man, he goes, I want you to put some death metal stuff in here. I was like, yeah, I'll fucking do it. Sure.
Interesting.
So, yeah. I mean, it's kind of like the only way I can describe his band is they're kind of like not as heavy as Alice in Chains, but they're trying to kind of more that kind of style.
All right. Nothing wrong with that.
No. And he's like, yeah, I just want you to, this and that. And he's just like, wow. He goes, you're really articulate. You're really you can speak well. I said, yeah. I said, I can't like slur my words or like just like fake stuff. So I did some for him. And then there was another band in Michigan. They're a Black Death band. And they were recording in Chicago, and this is in like May, and they're like, we'd like to come, have you come in and do a couple lines. And I drove down there and I did a couple lines so quick. They're like, well, why don't you do a couple more lines, and then so I ended up doing a decent portion of that song, and that's something I really like doing, and I'm hoping that people approach me to do that more, or even a guest solo or whatever. I'm not like Mr. Big Time or anything, so it's not like I'm gonna be like, dude, I want $500 and a limo. It's like, just if I have to do it in a studio, pay my studio time, and we're cool. It's something I love to do. So I'm really hoping to kind of more venture into that. And as you were speaking with the articulation, you could hear the vocals. My buddy George from the Metalheads podcast, he had said that. He's like, he goes, your vocals kind of, I think he gave me a cross between Corpse Grinder and Frank from Suffocation. And I was like, whoa.
All right.
I'll take both of those. I'll take both of those. But the one thing I did hear from other people around me with this record, they felt that the vocals kind of had a Max Cavalera kind of feel to them. So I said, I'll take that too.
Yeah, it's got a little bit of a thrashy group. I thought Grave myself, but
Cool.
I also kind of get
Even
that out
better.
of the music as well. And back in the day when I got that first Morta Skuld tape trade, my friend that gave it to me was like, dude, it's the American Grave. I'm like, oh, okay. Which, I go back and listen,
funny.
and I'm like, it's totally there, but I disagree now that I'm older. But
Yeah.
I see where he got that back in the day.
Oh yeah. Well, especially the first record. The first record is very European influenced, and I've had people ask me about that. Well, like, where did you? I said that me and the band and that lineup at the time, how can I say this? We're like I consider us a second gen death band because we didn't, when we first came out, Obituary had 2 albums out. I think Death had 3 albums.
Mm-hmm.
I think Cancer had 1. Deicide had 1.
Cannibal Corpse had 2. Yeah,
you're right. So it was kind of still in its infancy.
It was still extreme metal then. It wasn't even fucking death metal yet.
Right. So we came out kind of like right at that time, and we had all been listening to the classics, Entombed, Left Hand Path, and Obituary Cause of Death, Death Spiritual Healing,
Unleashed.
Grave, Unleashed. And I really think that Bull Thrower, God, for me, both are huge. Napalm Death. So I really think all those influences just, they really just kind of just soaked in our brains. And I think and I don't think we were trying to copy anybody, but it was just more of an emulation where I think we were kind of like paying tribute to our favorite bands, and we were writing riffs that we really liked. And that's why I really feel that album has such a European feel to it.
That's awesome. And I've got somebody here in the chat room saying Prolong the Agony was a great demo. And that had such a European feel to it,
Yeah, that one too. Absolutely. And it's tough, because there's so much music out there. I know people ask me like, what are you listening to? I says, I really honestly don't listen to a lot of new music. And partly because I don't want to be influenced,
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to write something. And so I was like, hey man, I just heard that off of the, blah, blah, blah band. And oh crap, so it's just, I do listen to a lot of classics though. I still listen to a lot of Obituary and Death and Napalm Death and Entombed and Grave. And, I still listen to all the classic stuff. Because that stuff, I feel like those are my roots,
Well,
so
dude,
like,
I got to tell you, as a fan, I would be a little disappointed if, like, the next Morta Skuld album, you got like big into slam metal out of nowhere, and you're like, oh well, this album was really heavily influenced by Analepsy, and now you're doing extreme drop tone, and you're playing with an 8-string guitar, and I'd be like, that's not what I bought Morta Skuld for. It would be a little disappointing if you did let a lot of the newer music influence you like that. So
it's going to be. I will say this much: just right now, we're into like song 3, and
that's with your new guitar player, Tim.
Yes.
I'm all you didn't have a lineup change during this interview, did you? Because I mean, that's the one. Parentheses, Morta Skuld does have a problem with.
Yes. No, it's not a problem. It's just people. It's not like it was 30 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, back in the day, I had the same lineup for 8 years. That some people had 10, 12, more than that. But even a lot of the real popular bands, they all have lineup changes. All of them.
Oh yeah. No, I'm not saying it was a problem, and it's not like I left the band because Dave Gregor's just a pain in the ass to work with. No, it's dude. I'm fucking 40 years old. I can't depend on death metal to pay the bills. So yeah, exactly. I'm a bricklayer now. But I do have a question here in the chat room. Did you guys open for Death in the mid 80s or 90s? Sorry.
Yes.
Awesome. Can you expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, I believe it was, if my memory serves correct.
They're saying mid-1990, I mean.
Yeah, it would have been either one or two things. It would have either been at the Milwaukee Metal Fest, or there was a show called, the Day of Death and it was in Waukesha County in Wisconsin.
Okay.
So it would have been one of those two, because I do remember, because I have video footage, and I think the human banner is in back of everything as like
right
we're
on.
playing. So yeah, so it would have been one. Matter of fact, it probably was both. I know that we played with we supported Death at least twice.
Awesome. Yeah, that goes out to the homies here in the chat room. Thank you guys for tuning in and asking questions. Yeah, that's totally fucking awesome. Well, you know what? We're coming up on an hour, dude. I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I do want to tell you that you are more than welcome to come back on the show any fucking time you want.
Awesome. Yeah.
I'd love to talk. It's great because like having a conversation with you, man, like I wanted to focus on the new album, but God, we can go back with each other a little bit, talk about the tape trading days, talk about how things are different. And I really enjoyed our conversation today, man.
Absolutely. Me too. No, I really appreciate you. And I appreciate all the fans. And like I said, please go to the Morta Skuld Facebook page, try to blow it up for us, try to get it moving. Instagram, Morta Skuld 1 official. And, yeah, just, you know, if anybody just, you know, my email's up there. I'm always, like I said, I'm always online. I'm always conversing with people, and just stay tuned, you know, for a YouTube channel and some live videos from us.
Yeah, you're a very approachable person, and people out there listening, don't be a weirdo. You could talk to David yourself. He's a great guy to talk to online, but don't be a weirdo about it. And
right.
But dude, it's amazing talking with you about a brand new fucking album. Suffer for Nothing is so fucking good, dude. I'm glad that
Thank you.
You know, the last album was awesome as well, but this one just brings Morta Skuld back to the front line for me. It kicks ass. I got a double shot of it coming up. I got Divide the Soulless, and we're going to open up with the Extreme Tolerance, because that's the opening track, and it fucking slays.
Thank you. Also, it's available at peaceville.com. I always tell people this, because do not order from Amazon, because Amazon is sending people the wrong stuff.
Of course.
So peaceville.com. It's very affordable shipping. I do believe they have a hub in the U.S. And also it's available on Tidal, Diesel, whatever they're called, Spotify, Apple Music. So please, everybody, go out, purchase some Morta Skuld for us. And, you know, like I said, it helps us, you know, get ready to do the next record and help fund the next record.
Hell yeah. And before I let you go, I do want to say, because in this next block of music, I've got some old school Death from Spiritual Healing. I got Skeletal Remains, Cannibal Corpse, Jungle Rot. But I have a track that was just sent to me yesterday as I was Facebook stalking you for this interview. Somebody sent you a CD, and it's from a band called Ascended Master.
Yeah.
And so I'm kind of doing the let's turn on people to some new music, because it's very cool. Off the hook. It's a badass CD. So yeah, by Facebook stalking you for this interview, I found some new music, and we're gonna blare some of that in the next block.
Nice. Oh, very cool.
Absolutely. Well, Mr. Gregor, thank you so much, dude. Whenever you want to just bullshit, or if you have anything new to press, dude, hit me up, dude, because you're always welcome here at the show.
Awesome. I thank you so much, Walter.
You as well, and have a great day, man.
You too. Take care.
Bye.